G'day guys, it's Jake here. Nothing in this video is financial advice. Please do your own research when it comes to investing. Alright, let's go. So the topic for this video, we'll be discussing economic data coming up for the week. Also looking at Fed rate cut probabilities going into the end of the year. And also looking at Bitcoin, a Wyckoff schematic chart, guy Twitter post. And lastly, just looking at some charts, just dominance charts, alt BTC charts, and Bitcoin, and where I think they're going towards the end of the year. Okay, so let's firstly talk about the data, economic, the high impact data, as you can see in red here. What we can see Wednesday, we firstly have job openings, so per unemployed worker for June. The previous numbers were 8.14 million, and the forecast is 8.05 million. So we'll see what happens there. If we get a decline, it's not good for the job openings, which is not good for the labour market. And then we have on Thursday the Fed rate decision, interest rate decision, and the Fed press conference to follow up on the decision that they make there and see what the guidance is going forward and what they intend to do going into the next FOMC into September, as August has a break. They go to Jackson Hole to do a big speech there. But after that, that month off, September, they come back and they make big decisions in the FOMC. So where they get rate cuts this month, it looks like there's not going to come until September. And then Friday, we have ISM manufacturing PMI and non-farm payrolls, which is very, very crucial to see if those numbers start to come in hotter than expected, depending on what it comes in as. If it comes in hotter, it's higher, it's better. If it comes in lower, it's not as good. And then we have the unemployment rate, which is what the Fed will really be looking at to see if that comes in hotter than 4.1%. The consensus and forecast is predicting that it won't change. It will stay the same at 4.1. Becoming lower, that's better for the labour market. Becoming hotter is going to really test the economy, and to see, I'll check the SARM raw indicator after that happens to see if we've hit a recession. If we have a 0.5, and every time we do that, we get a recession. So that's really, we're at 0.43, and so that comes in at 0.5. We're in a recession. There's no doubting that. It's been very historically accurate. So these are the economic data points to look out for this week. We have rate cut probabilities. I'll just go to this, to the ad here, and you can see the Fed Watch tool. We can see in July coming up tomorrow, we're not going to get much. It's just a 4.1% chance of it happening, so I don't think it's nothing that happened at all, unchanged. 2 months later in September, it looks to be a rate cut is a 90% chance, 10% chance of even bigger cut. We have November, a 35% chance, a 58% chance of a secondary cut. And then we have December, there's a over 50% chance of a cut going into the end of the year. So 3 cuts are priced in and probable for the end of the year and look very likely to happen. But we need to see some weak data points for them to do so. They can't just cut just for the sake of cutting. It has to be a reason for cutting. Okay, so there are the probabilities, what we see coming forward. And we have a tweet by the great Matthias. Bitcoin, steady and ready. Mass distribution in play. We have a Wyckoff drawing here. And as you can see, we had a rise up. We had a sell off. Which is this PSY. Point us, I don't know what that means, but PSY, and then we shoot up at this high here. We come down to the third section, AR. We come up into number 4, which is here. We just bounce around like this. Right, as you can see, it's like a double top thing. We come down here, number 6, and you can say it's 6 to 8. It's sort of meshed in here. We shoot up this secondary peak, and number 7, and we come down to this SOW, and then last point of supply before this lower high here, before we go lower. So it's not perfect. It's not really that accurate to it, but gives you an idea what could happen. And this could be a last push up, a last gasp before we decline, break the lows. You need to break the lows like this one, and then come back, retest, and then come back down again. And definitively, we should see lower prices by the end of the year, as you can see in the chart there. If this Wyckoff plays out, exactly as this, we're into distribution, or if it plays it the opposite way, we could shoot up and be left translate cycle into the end of the year. So yeah, this will be interesting to see what happens for Bitcoin price. So here's Bitcoin price on the 3-day chart. And as you can see, we're at the top of this parallel channel, and it's around 6.5K. And yeah, so the channel started here, came up to the top a couple of times, had it come down again there, up to the top there, down the bottom here, and then up to the top here. So these are exactly parallel, perfect channel, and we're trending up and down in it at the moment. And my predictions are that this is the last rejection, and either we hold here and go up, we've got to break 71K first and go higher like this, right? That's the first outcome. Or the second outcome, which I believe is going to happen, is it definitively breaks down. Sorry bulls, but this is what I think. Retest this bit before we come down definitively to the support level, 51K, which is sort of outlined in this stalling period here. And then we've definitively break into the end of the year, and there we go in December or January. See what happens. And I do see us going to roughly around 41K, right, this level here, which is a bit more obvious than the 51K level. It's really subtle. This is a Bitcoin spot ETF launch, and this is very big accumulation area, which I believe it'll come to at the end of the year. And given the bad weak labor data numbers, I just see it getting worse, and it'll result to the downside for Bitcoin and the stock market. And if you look at here, I'll go to the weekly. It's a bit easier to see. This upward sloping trend line, as you can see, it started at the end of November, the bear market bottom. We came back to it in September 2023, and then I believe we're going to come back again for a third time. See if 41K we retest, and the final. I don't think we're going to go much lower than that. 31K will be really if it gets a really bad recession. Okay, a really terrible recession. And from there, you might see some chop, might see a fake out down below, and then off to the races from there. Going in 2025 or into 2026, and 200,000 or around 200,000 is my prediction for Bitcoin in the end of year cycle. Okay. So that's what I'm predicting to happen. More likely than this going up. I just don't see the economic data holding up strong enough for the bulls to push price higher and give a reason to do so, because that's really what the Fed's going to react to. Going in September is the rate cut will come due to bad data, and it'll turn off the liquidity and people will start selling and get out of Bitcoin. So that's Bitcoin. I'll just go to ETH real quick. Ethereum, sort of in this upward sloping trend line there and downward, so touching both sides, and really just broken down from it. We're at support, touch, and sort of starting to reject from it now. It's struggled to reclaim the highs here at 4K almost. It's at 4K, and we're just having around 3.3. Not doing much, but once this breaks, I do see more downside, Going in the year, I just see it's going around 2K is my target for Ethereum. Potentially to lower levels if it gets bad. 1100 to Armageddon, okay, session. But 2K, somewhere around there is where I'm seeing it by the end of the year, okay, just by the end of the year. And if 2025 gets worse, it can go even lower. But that's just where I'm seeing it go eventually. Time will take its toll, and it will play out if, like I said, the data is weak in the job market is what I'm looking at closely, and more restriction on the economy as they keep reducing the balance sheet. If they don't cut rates soon enough, if they cut them, there'll be a response to that. If they hold them for longer and don't cut at all in 2024, then the markets they'll hurt even more in 2025. So if they cut 2024, it'll be less painful, I believe, going into 2025. That's my Ethereum prediction there. Let's look at USDT dominance. And on the weekly there, yep. So every time we touch this trend line, I mentioned in previous videos, we get a bounce, 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 bounce. And I'll just show you the Bitcoin chart there. So essentially, it's just the inverse of Bitcoin. Okay, so every time you get a touch this trend line, it started here really. We got the top in Bitcoin. It's orange here. Came down, touched it, which is this little intermediate level here, this medium level. Before we sold off, our USDT shot up. You see here, touched it. That was the top, the pre-halving cycle. And we sold off as it went up. It came close to it here. It went to intermediate top before the pandemic sell-off. We shot up. Again, touched the trend line, this arrow. What happened? We marked the top Bitcoin roughly. We did trade sideways for a bit. And we sold off as it shot up. We also had another touch of the trend line. We had the actual top in 2021 cycle. We shot up as Bitcoin price went down. So it's this inverse, okay? Now we touched it here again. This trend line, Bitcoin topped. And we're sort of trading sort of slightly down, lower highs, lower lows. And will it break and continue the downtrend? We'll have to wait to see if this trend line holds too and it gets stronger, USDT dominance. And I do see it by the end of the year. Now I still see it go up slowly, grinds, and then it gets up to here. 6.5% is where I'm seeing it head to, okay, which is a Fibonacci retracement from the top there to the bottom, the 0.5 level, where I see it heading, okay? So there's my predictions for that one. Take that off for a sec. Bitcoin dominance is just trending higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. As predicted, because we're in QT, it'll just keep trending higher until the Fed increase their balance sheet. And I'll show the balance sheet. So this is what I'm looking at, okay? So the QE to start, this is QT, this green, which is basically the pivot when they start increasing the balance sheet. It goes higher and higher and higher. That's when we'll see a top in dominance. See it topped here, and then we sold off. QT marked the bottom for dominance, the opposite, it shot up. And QE is when it started slowly grinding down, then it shot right down because it was staying flat and consistent and predictable. And risk assets did very well in that period. And we rallied, had a huge alt season here. And then QT happened, Bitcoin season, QE, alt season, 2021 top was here. Shortly after that, they made a meeting in January 2022, and then we sold off the balance sheet, and they sold off, and then Bitcoin dominance has been trending higher, okay? So it's just going with the balance sheet, and I see it's going up to 0.6, 60%, 63%, the 0.618, right, retracement level. Around here, okay, that's where I'm seeing it head right to this box. It lines up with my Fibonacci tool. And yeah, I do see it happening there. And also, if you go to the previous cycle, in the breakdown period, right here to the bottom, we also had a 0.618 here, retracement, here and here, roughly. And that's where it topped out before it went down. So there's a bit of confluence just to add to it as well. So that's where I see Bitcoin dominance going. And the other ones are pretty much inverse. I'll just go to ETH, Bitcoin. Sort of gives you an idea what the altcoins, top king altcoin. You know, I just see us The QE rose up. We had a level here. We touched once, twice. You can see, and we broke down. Started this trend line, and we shot up because we're in QE. Outperformed Bitcoin. Secondary lower high here. This one came down because we were in QT, and then because the balance sheet started to go down, so the orange goes down. It starts to sell off against Bitcoin. Reduces. We have a support level as the same as 2016. We touch, we break down from it. Same as 2016. It's the same sort of pattern. See high, lower high, high, lower high. Create a base, and then we sort of trend sideways, and then we break down. Okay. There's a bit less of a sell-off because it's a bigger asset. As larger it grows, the less volatile and performance differences between the two. And it was QT as we sold off. And then the Fed pivoted to QE. They started buying. Balance sheet went up heaps. What happened to ETH Bitcoin? It bottomed, exact bottom. Okay, and it shot up. And we got near the exact top, nearly there, and the Fed meeting happened. And then the balance sheet sold off. What happened to ETH Bitcoin? It sold off. Okay, so it's just like that, just like dominance, Bitcoin dominance. And we had this high, lower high. We had the base, as I mentioned, the other charts, other two. We trade sideways for a bit, and then it's going to break down and hit this trend line, which hit there, there. Okay, trend line touch, and we should come back down to it here at the 3.5 to 4 of a Bitcoin in ETH valuation terms, and should see it break down sometime in August, September, and then into the end of the year. If we see the balance sheet start to tick up, okay, like this, that's when we'll see an exact bottom, and we should see an uptrend, and boom, to the races from there. I don't know how long it's going to go on for, but depends on the recession, how bad it's going to get. And yeah, it's really going to determine the length of this cycle. Okay, the Fed, very, very, very important, because previous cycles, it follows QE, QT, these dominance charts, and then the USD pairs will obviously, ETH will go down against Bitcoin on the and the ETH USD should go down as well. Okay, if Bitcoin holds up, then maybe ETH won't sell off as much, but it will still will underperform. But I do believe Bitcoin will come down, so then the rest of the old USD pairs, so your standard USD pairs, will drop as well. And then once we start seeing an uptrend, once we start seeing this start going up, when you want to start looking to buy altcoins, and they'll bottom out fully when we get this green QE, okay? So need the balance sheet to tick up. So that's what I'm looking at mainly. And it's the same for the other pairs as well. But yeah, that's it. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Just going over the economic data coming up for the week. Some important data like the jobs numbers, job openings, the unemployment rate, non-farm payrolls. Also looking at some manufacturing numbers from PMI, and the Fed interest rate decision, which will result in no rate cuts, so nothing unchanged at 5.5%. And we should get a cut in September, as I showed you on the CME Fed Watch tool, and potentially another cut in November and December. They are over 50% probabilities. And then we looked over a Wyckoff schematic from the great Matthias, Bitcoin chart, and the daily, see where we're heading for the end of the year, and heading down, his prediction, and I do agree with him, because just see weaker data coming in the labour market, economy starting to slow down, and yeah, just the unemployment rate going above, well above 4% for some time, and then that'll trigger the SARM rule, and recession will be entered. And then in other sectors, we'll have to weigh up to some other indicators, like the ones I can talk about. I've talked about in previous videos. I can talk about further is the yield curve, the 10-2 year. If that uninverts, then that'll be a recession. Okay, so it's a matter of time before the 10-year flips to 2-year in terms of yield, and that'll be a recessionary signal. And then I'll talk about some Bitcoin altcoin charts and dominance charts as well. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please smash the like, comment your thoughts below, subscribe to stay updated, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.